And if we pause it, that worked.
Yeah, it's good.
Is that working?
Yeah, it's good.
So I might jump off mine then.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
There you go. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. Well done. 7:34.
Timing. You gave me
Within
3, we
time.
just needed 2.
It's all about timing, trusting the process. Is that right?
Yeah, I can't hear what you're saying. What did you say?
So, should have mentioned the Celtic result last night. I noticed nobody brought up Celtic result. Is Scotty McNichol online?
Who knows? It's probably in a crisis meeting, mate.
All right, 7:35. I think we can get back into it. You mentioned today, Jake and Warren, maybe 35, 40 minutes. We're going to look to get through this. Yeah,
Make it 30. Hey, Martin, make it 30.
30, brilliant, excellent, just over 3/4 an hour. Welcome, Jake, Bull and Minett. It's great to see you online again, and with your nice curly hair. I noticed that you washed it before the presentation today. You didn't do it this morning, but it's great to see you've actually done that hair. Looks brilliant. The part 2 of our Football Queensland shared best practice, and it's individual development using video analysis. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm going to pass it straight on to yourself, mate, and let you go.
Perfect. Just let me confirm that you can see the screen working here.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. When Warren discussed this role with me at the start of the year, I was very keen to work in this space. I'm a Lions junior myself. I currently play in the first team here, and I've coached at the club for 5 years now. When we were discussing this role, I initially came into it with the angle of technical development. I work in football full time personally, but a lot of that's to do with individual development with players outside of what they get from the club. Warren wanted video analysis to be utilized better, and I think we could have done this better in the past at Lions. So when we were sitting down and discussing, we were combining the 2 roles together to hopefully create this role that maybe isn't so present in NPL clubs at the moment, to benefit all our junior players. So I specifically work with the 13 to 18s, boys and girls. So I think it's 8 teams across the club. Now, when we sat down in pre-season, this was really important because I think even though Lions has historically been quite successful in the senior space, in terms of actually progressing academy players through to the senior team, I don't think we've been amazing at it. So what I felt was that there was a lack of a clear pathway of what our junior players had to look like if they were to progress into the senior sides. We found that a lot of them maybe got to the under 18s, under 23s level, and then maybe didn't have quite the quality that Lions were looking for their first team and would move on to other clubs. So when we sat down, we looked at the game model that Warren put together in pre-season and made sure that we knew exactly what our teams had to look like with and without the ball, and obviously in transition moments. And from that area there, we could then build on it. So we moved into creating player profiles. Then from that moment, individual player attributes within those positions, and then the analysis and technical training that I can hopefully provide would then complement all of the detail we'd done in pre-season. So I'll just move through. These are our moments of the game. So our attacking and our defensive organization, our 2 transition moments. And this was a lot of the work Warren did in pre-season to create exactly what our junior teams, both boys and girls, had to look like, hopefully with and without the ball. This allowed us to then create our player profiles. So as you can see here, we've got Luke and Tommy from our men's senior side, for goalkeeper and centre back. Now, I used that image there to then create our specific player attributes. So the top level of information is all our attacking organization. So that's technical, tactical, physical and psychosocial, and what we look for players. Now, in terms of that, it's just a lot more detail. So you can say, good passing, but we broke it down to levels such as, is the pass speed correct? Is the pass direction correct? Is the trajectory on the ball correct? And is the timing of release correct? So it's just a lot more detailed in terms of, can our centre backs, for example, pass the ball? We did this for each position on the field. So we did this for our centre backs, goalkeepers, all the way through to our attackers. Now, I've tuned into some of the webinars you've had recently on the individual development. I think the last one was from the boy in Birmingham. Is that right, Martin? Oh, I think it was. So now I understand that what they have over there in terms of financial support and even just personnel support is a lot greater than what most people in our environment can do. So we then sat down and looked at what we can do as a club with perhaps a limited budget to try and create as many tools as possible to help our players with development. So at Lions, we're fortunate that that Rob was able to invest in Metrica. So we got 4 licenses, I believe, that Warren, myself, another couple of the coaches are able to access. We have all of our teams, all of our players on a program called Kairos, which then allows myself to communicate with players both in group chats and individually. And we were able to buy a drone, which we'll see in the presentation shortly how valuable that can be. From there, we made all of these sort of processes and techniques that we can use to hopefully build some development in our players. Over the next sort of 10, 15 minutes, I'll just go through them and show them what they look like. So this screen here is our Kairos page. So this is what our under F15 FQA ones would see, all of our players, both and the parents as well when they log in. Now, in this case, we've got footage of our drone in a game a couple of weeks ago, which I was able to then cut moments that our 15s coach Ross wanted. We can then present that to, seeing that plays through, should hopefully play through. That was then able to be put onto their Kairos that all of the players are able to access. With that, I can put in information specific to maybe what we'd done well, what we hadn't done well. And then even further, I could take that, I could speak to individuals. So in this case, Caden, our left wing, we'd worked on delivery into the box and identify that that was a really good moment. In this video, it's looking at how we are able to switch the ball quickly and get it into our wider players, and then from that point penetrate, because the makeup of this team, which again lines with our attacking organization game model, is we want to get it into our wingers quickly and exploit the space in behind the opposition. So this is one tool that we do use at the moment, which allows us to show the players both good and bad moments. In this clip, you can see the use of Metrica and how we use annotations. So this is our under 13s group. Yep. So we can, if I just pause it there, we can, I know it's run out there, but we are able to lock the screen in and work out the distances of the field. So we could look at the distances between the front two there and how much space is in our press. But for the younger players especially, this is really good, I've found, just to give them that visual cue.
Well, that's good.
We're looking for.
Yeah, that was good.
In this instance, you can see the under 13s are looking at our sort of mid block and how we're working Gold Coast Knights into certain areas of the field, and then how our players are able to recognize moments. Now, the use of the annotations for these young ones is key, because obviously we all know they learn in different ways, but for a lot of them, being able to see it and then read, I find is really valuable for them. Our next technique that we're using is more of a stock standard approach that perhaps a lot of coaches in here and NPL clubs would be using, but it's just your general analysis and feedback sessions with your whiteboard and maybe some VO footage that you've got from the weekend. Again, here's our under 13s, but at all times, and this was key when discussing things with Warren in preseason, we want to make sure that we're linking everything back to how our club wants to play as a whole and the game model. So in this moment, we were looking at our centre backs being able to play against a single striker, and how if we were able to move the striker from one side of the field to the other, we should have some space for our opposite centre back to drive forward. Now, this is both of our under 13s groups, our Mackay and our McCain, that work quite closely together. This next technique, it's a little bit more time consuming, but one that I think adds a lot of value. Now, I'm not sure if the volume will play, but I might just talk over it. But it's
Isaac, here's some footage from the game.
just Martin. Can you hear that? Can everyone hear that or no?
It's Olympic on the weekend. When I was watching back, there were some really positive moments that I noticed.
Martin.
Coming through, Bola. It's good.
Yeah, we can hear you,
Good.
Billa. We can hear.
Yeah, we can hear it.
All right, sweet. So
Some of the
I've been using this one with quite a few of the players.
very, very intelligent, and you made good decisions in the moment. You won the ball well for the team.
So
That's last year.
essentially what I do is I just give them some feedback, some points at the start of the video, and then work through some of the
As they
footage
develop,
with them. In this
you
case,
need to lay him really well, which allows our team to funnel back and get behind them.
it's working with an under 13s central midfielder who's actually playing up in age and doing really well for us. So I'll just run through this clip and just show how it works when we do
This one,
technique.
again, you recognise where he wants to throw, you win the ball, and then this technical ability to avoid challenge. It's brilliant. The next positive thing is you play forward, and then you run forward and support. And now we've gone from Olympic having a throw to you delivering a cross into the box. So that's 3 or 4 really good things back to back there.
Now, speaking to players after this, and also when I will say when we do message players individually in the Kairos chat, their parents are in it. So getting feedback, I've found that this is a really effective technique, just because they can probably see it and they hear it, and it has that personal touch as well. So this isn't every single week, just because it is a little bit more time consuming, and I do have to work with both 13s to 18s boys and girls. But perhaps like this weekend, for example, with some rain affected games, this is one that I will use with individuals within our academy. The other thing is, this is also, as we've spoke about, it's players that we've identified that are doing well. So it's not for absolutely every single player. We might have a little bit more of a targeted approach when we are utilizing this technique. I'll just run through the next one. If anyone has any questions at any point, feel free to jump in and ask it. Okay, so this one here, this is an under 15, an under 17s player that we're working quite closely with. She's showing a lot of promising signs. In this case, so you'll see she's a midfielder. How this would work is I would send this one individual clip to her and just prompt a conversation and just ask her to see what her feedback is. I'm not sure if you can quite see those screenshots, but it's just talking about how her body shape and where she's moved the ball could possibly be better. Again, so you see she faces forward, could potentially play forward into our front three nice and early, which links up with our game model, but instead she turns and goes back. Now, working closely with her every week, including tonight, for example, we worked on body shape and receiving and playing forward. This is one where then over the course of the season, hopefully we'll get progress, which we are seeing. She's being able to play forward a lot more common within our games. The next one, so we've been fortunate enough to utilize professional footage from the English Premier League games. So again, using our Metrica program, we're able to add the annotations in. Again, we could add in distances, we could add in speed that this Aston Villa 4-4-2 block is working in. We've chosen this game specifically because it aligns with how we want to defend as a club, and this is all the way throughout. In the bottom corner, you'll see some footage from the women versus Brisbane City a couple of weeks ago. Again, having spoken to the under-17s coach Seb, this is really important that we're utilizing both male and female footage, especially when we're trying to improve the girls' knowledge within our academy. I found if we're just showing them images and footage of males, perhaps it doesn't have the same effect. Whereas here we're fortunate, we've got a really strong women's program. So when they are able to see some footage from our women's team, I think it applies to them a lot better. This process I've been using is, again, the video that's been shared into the 15s Kairos group. Not all of them have access to this. This is maybe the 4 or 5 players that play specifically in this position, but we've created a chat specific for them, just giving them a little challenge for the weekend and how we can link that to perhaps a first team player, in this case, Alex Fechner, and how he's crossing the football and what we want their crosses to look like. If you think back to the footage from the drone, the boy that played left wing for them was one of the boys we were targeting within this group chat, and it worked. Again, I'll send this clip of the EPL players and how they're crossing the football on the weekend, just highlighting, the speed, how maybe perhaps they're actually not trying to go past the player, but just create enough space to deliver a ball into a dangerous area, and then the techniques that they're using when they are delivering. This next one, this is our 15s and our 17s girls group. Now, being quite interested in the female game myself, I found that a lot of them struggle to use to get a first touchdown under control to advantage. And when I say advantage, again, it's if we think back to the specific sort of positions and what attributes we want. When I say first touch, we're speaking about is the ball one on the grass? Is it the correct direction, and is it the correct distance? Now, perhaps in a basic passing practice that you would see, maybe the details are missed, but within here with just the repetition, we're working a specific moment from a throw-in, which again doesn't get practice a lot. I don't remember the last time I've seen someone from practice someone throwing the ball in and controlling it. But as you'll see in this footage, they struggle quite a lot to get the ball exactly where they want, whether it be the distance is wrong, it bounces up in the air and would allow a defender to get closer, or the direction's wrong. Here's just a moment in the game that linked exactly to that practice. So we do that quite a lot as well with our girls, especially before a session. This next bit of footage that I'll show you is probably a little bit more down my alley. And this is definitely what I was thinking about when I was discussing this role with Warren. We're fortunate here at Lions. We're able to have really good facilities and a lot of space, which I understand not every club has. But in this instance, again, just linking it to previous examples, this is our 15s. So we've got 2 wide players and a striker working on delivering that cross that we'd seen the boys from English Premier League deliver, and some of the first team examples. And this practice only went for 20 minutes at the start of the under 15s training session. There's JK with a very good finish, but this is what we're really trying to work on, getting repetitions. We had built a little bit of pressure with the second player tracking back and trying to protect the space, but it's getting repetitions in and building that muscle memory. So hopefully when we come to game day, that there can be some success. Now, from this, we worked both sides. We did rotate players through, and we tried to do it at speeds that was as realistic as possible, just to replicate what we are looking for on a game day. The only one that's seen our under 15s will probably understand this is how they are playing their football, so it's very relative to them. and again links with our attacking organization game model. How we go about structuring this is I would use our skill session planner to create the session plan over in this part. On the right hand side, you'll then see our players that we worked with, Nat, Orion, and Nick. Post session, I will go through and just write some feedback on each player. Within this box here and the feedback that I've provided on this actual session plan itself, a lot of the information here links back to the player attributes that are in that Excel spreadsheet. Now, again, like I've said, we are fortunate at Lions to have some resources that other clubs don't have, and I understand that. So what we were able to do was create within SmarterBase an IDP. So all of these dot points down here are what you would have seen in that Excel spreadsheet. So I can then go into SmarterBase in this situation, click on that, and I'm able to give him a score. We've at the moment we've got good, average, and improvement, but we are possibly looking at changing that. We're in discussions to change that, but we are able to keep track. So in this case, it's the ability for his first touch to take beyond pressure, his body shape when receiving it in crossing areas, techniques of cross, speed of cross, direction of cross, etc. So everything that we're doing links to what we're looking to create first team players. This one here, a centre back within our program. Now, just practicing some basic actions that a centre back would be doing. In this case, just receiving, backpedaling, scanning, and his first touch. In that little picture there, you would have seen his first touch and his change of direction was wrong. So the distance was actually incorrect and the direction went into his other foot. That would then make his next action, which I would call his pass, harder to execute at a good level. We then built on it. So he'd expand, he'd take his touch forward and recycle. After having possession of the football with his studs, trying to attract a striker towards him so that we can create extra space on the opposite side. The final progression would then be for him to drive inside and be able to play a reverse ball with his left foot to either a midfielder that expanded out or to his right fullback. Again, there's the screenshot that you could see that linked up to his IDP on SmarterBase. Finally, what I am starting to see is more of a player-led development. So here's some examples of players messaging myself on our Kairos. So asking whether it's about conceding goals. They've asked for footage from both older groups and individuals from older groups that we've spoken about. You can see players that have been sent clips and they're giving them feedback of what they thought, and at times asking me what I thought about the clips so that they could further expand on their knowledge. So this is really good to see. And as we're going through the season, I'm seeing a greater buy-in from all the players, both boys and girls, probably more so boys, if I'm being honest, in this space here. So just finally, again, a lot of what I've shown you in the last sort of 15 minutes has been in this space, but the overall picture was, as a club, we're not doing well enough at creating academy players to get to the first team. That was end of story. We wanted to make sure that we had our AO, our DO, our AT, and our DT down pat. We wanted to know how we played and then allow our player profiles to suit the way we wanted to play. We then needed to make sure that we had more of a detail about what our individuals had to look like in and out of possession, physically, psychologically, everything. And then that's where this role that I'm able to execute, hopefully at the club, with our analysis week to week of both training and games, and then our technical training on top of their club training would hopefully assist and link back into creating players that hopefully can move into our first team, both men and women in the future. So yeah, that's my role currently at the club. Martin, I'll pass on to you if you wanted to mention anything or ask any questions in there.
Buller, wonderful presentation, following on from David's excellent one as well. Superb, mate. Well done. There is a couple of questions there. I'll go at the bottom one first because I don't want to steal your thunder, but obviously there was just somebody asking for an explanation on the AO and DO. You might want to elaborate on that a little bit.
In terms of what we
No, what it means. What
Okay.
what it means.
Yeah, so we have, our attacking organization
Yeah.
and our defensive organization. Now, I can definitely say that in a unique situation, being a first team player at this club and then also getting to work with our nines all the way through, especially more so our 13s up now that we're in that next development area, we are very, very much playing the same way. Our AO and DO, especially since Mooney has come in, he's made it very clear we want to do that. So essentially, it's just how we attack within different thirds of the field, what our player actions are doing when we have it in the back third compared to what's in the front third, and again, how do we defend? In this case, you could see via the Aston Villa clip probably was the most clear. We want to defend in a 4-4-2. So, attacking organisation and defensive organisation there.
Wonderful, mate. Just before we get to the couple of questions there, David, I just dropped in there more a comment, and it's great to see on the videos 50-50 gender parity there. Some female examples, some male examples as well. That's a really, really good example moving forward for those that are doing presentations. It's great to see. I know that David did it before, but so good to see 50-50 gender parity with their examples. A little question there was when you're providing the players some feedback, how long are the video clips?
So is that the one with the voiceover, or
if you're sending them a little clip of something they've done well, is it 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
So okay, so normally if I'm doing a team analysis for, say, the under 14s, they'll probably get 5 to 6 clips. How that works is our coaches within the Kairos chat that we have set up for them we want maybe pressing situations from a goal kick, how we getting the ball, how we are fullbacks progressing up the field. So whatever specifically they want, I will cut. That could be anywhere from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. That will go to the coaches. If I'm giving information to a player and then speaking over it, it's probably about 2 to 3 minutes. And then if you think back to some of the clips where we were showing examples of first team players, that's probably capping out about a minute.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, I think it came from, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry if I'm wrong there. I think it's from Brisbane City there, is how much of these sessions take preference over your team trainings, or is it, I heard you mention before that a couple were pre-training, that you were doing some of that.
So the way that we have our training schedule structured, so if we're down at our Dara training facility, our 9s to 12s are working from 5 to 6:30, and our 13s to 16s will be working from 7 to 8:30. Now there's still a little bit of space there, so I'm usually down there from about 5:30. There's players that I can message on Kairos, and I can be like, hey, Ollie, can you come down at 5:45? We'll go work specifically on some centre back actions. This evening, I know that the girls have their state championships coming up this week for Met North, Met East, etc. So that they had quite a light session in preparation for a light week. So the girl that you did see on some of the clips, Sophia, I think they were working more of a fun-based session. So I pulled Sophia out just for 15 minutes and did some isolated work with her. So it doesn't take priority. It just complements what they're doing in the team.
Brilliant. That just leads me to Jack's question there that he's mentioned, like on a weekly basis or in a cycle, how many players would you look to try and provide feedback to?
So everyone will get the team footage. If I'm looking, so at the moment within our 17s, we've probably identified having discussions both with Warren and the 17s coach of players that look like they're going to progress quite well into our 23s and senior setup. So there's about 3 or 4 that we're looking to work a little bit more closely with. In terms of maybe the boys setup from 13s to 18s, we're probably looking at the moment on a week-to-week basis about 5 players.
Brilliant.
And that's just all their footage and feedback is saved on a database that we have here at the club.
Wonderful. David De Silva's just thrown one in there, and it's mentioned that great foundation examples as we've seen, and he's asking how do we measure improvement?
How are we measuring improvement based off what we're seeing? Well, again, that's a tricky answer there, because you could perhaps say maybe they're not getting the percentage right, but if the amount of passes going forward are more effective, that could be a good response as well. If I'm talking about Sophia, the girl looking to play forward, again, if we look at our wingers, okay, they might not get 10 crosses into the box, but if they get 1 cross into the box and score a goal, again, is it successful? Is it not successful? That's up for debate. In terms of what we're seeing, though, is we just want to see patterns, and we just want to look at the video evidence that we're building and make sure that we're seeing a positive movement with how they're technically doing and tactically are they understanding what we're looking for.
Brilliant. I love the example of the video of the goalkeeper playing to the right centre back, and the 3 or 4 different ways that player could actually take that first touch forward, whether it was inside or, as you said, using the alternate foot to make the reverse pass at the same time. And you broke it right down by the looks of it to the speed of the pass and how he received the pass. And I said it looked like there's 3 or 4 repetitions in different ways on actually how to receive and then make that different type of pass. So
Yeah.
I suppose,
and again, I'll just that footage from Ollie in that instance is only 15-20 minute session. And again, it's just breaking the actual actions down into more detail. For example, the ball comes into him. As a centre back myself, you want to use your studs at times to try and engage the striker towards you. That way I've then created greater space on the other side for my centre back. So when we first started with that action, he was using the inside of his foot, which for me isn't the cue for the striker necessarily to come. Whereas if he's got control of it with his studs, he can then engage and then he can move it wherever he wants. So it's just a little bit more detail.
Brilliant, love it. Before I lose my voice, anybody want to come off mute and ask Bill a question?
Martin, I just wanted to ask, probably build upon that example, mate, is when you're doing a buller, do you have like next level challenges that then with the video you can kind of see their improvements? Probably what I was alluding to with the question is, do you have like level ups for your examples?
In terms of showing the players, sorry?
Yeah.
Are you sorry, can you just try and explain that again?
That's fine. So maybe with your centre back example, it might be how they then take that touch based on, rather than the mannequin, maybe a player being passive, building them up, and then are they looking to then dribble past or play past based on your playing style?
Yep. So the first sort of progressions I would say is, can you then do it first time? Can you do it with a bouncing ball? That's usually a progression I like to use to make sure they're building it up. Then I think, as you saw in the group session, hopefully with our wingers, you saw that. So at the start of that session, we did it isolated with no defender. Then we added the defender in. Does that answer your question at all, Dave?
Yeah, no, perfect, mate. Just seeing how you're scaffolding it through.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I probably didn't clip the initial part of that small group session with our wingers in that. That was mindful of time, but they did start unopposed. And then I forced the opposite winger who wasn't working in that moment to spin around it and act as the left fullback, for instance. But I will say, when doing individual work, often a really good progression is weak foot, 1. Can you do it when it's bouncing? 2, because if we're being real, some of the fields that you play on, especially now that it's coming to winter, are not very good. So often the ball is bobbly. And then can you do it first time?
Perfect, mate. Thank you.
Warren, I have a question. How are you dealing with the disappointment of the 80% of the players who are not getting this service? And how do you sell it to their parents?
Maybe is that a you question? I'm not necessarily.
Maybe it's more a technical director question. Look, I would not disagree, even if you make this video public, that your 5-10% of top players has a real chance to progress into the first team environment where you want to produce your players at best. But definitely, either you put another 10 Bula on in the next few years, or you have to manage expectations.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll answer that.
You go.
You just answered the question, Gabor, about resources. I think this is obviously the first for us. It's the first of its kind to put Jacob on in this role, and obviously we're seeing some really exciting stuff. But it's the first year for us in terms of this role. You know, we're just learning, we're discovering things as well. We've seen what's working well, what we could improve on, where we'd love to take it. But like I said, he's been really valuable to Lions in terms of what he's produced so far. I know we did speak about obviously how we're working with the talents, and we are. There's no doubt about that. But we are also looking, when we see things on a weekly basis, we identify what maybe players need to work on. We're also looking at those players as well. And I know we did that in the early part of the season. It wasn't just maybe the identified elite talents. We worked on the players that might have needed some work as well. Again, it's for us, it's just it's something that's been really exciting to sort of build out, and Buller's made this his own now. We've got a lot of positive feedback from it.
And I'll say a good example of that is perhaps that group session you saw with the girls dealing with the throw-in. If we're being real, the better girls within that group taking a throw-in on the full and being able just to bring the ball down under control so they can pass with their next touch isn't the hardest. Right? But for 50% of the girls in that group, that was still a challenge. So just getting the reps there within that bigger group setting, pretty much most of the players within the academy have been covered. If we look at the 3 months that I've been doing this role now.
No, thank you. Excellent.
Brilliant, Buller. Look, very, very conscious of time. I know that Gabor's got to leave here at 8:15. He's got to go and pick up his daughter. But I just want to thank everybody on behalf of myself and Football Queensland for taking your time out. There was 37 coaches online at one stage tonight, which is an absolute credit to everybody. Thank you. Thank you, David, at the very beginning. And thank you, Buller and Warren, for your contribution this evening as well. And thank you, everybody, for, I suppose, all the questions and the real positive comments down on the chat there. It's been a wonderful night. That's my rookie night over. I don't know if I'll be welcome back, but if I don't get welcome back for the second one, it's been a pleasure on behalf of my wife and I. But thank you, everybody, for taking the time out, and enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy the rest of your season. Thank you. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Well done, Buller. Thanks.
Thank you.